been stepped up. But TVAM has uncovered evidence of an alarming lack of security at the country's top stadium, Wembley. This report from Gary Imlach.
To television viewers, this year's friendly FA Cup final between Everton and Liverpool was the usual well-run Wembley showpiece. But the files of the Liverpool-based national fans watchdog, the Football Supporters Association, tell a different story. One of chaotic organisation, which ruined what was the match of the century for many fans.
People managed to penetrate the first set of turnstiles, got into the inner ring of Wembley, and were then unable to enter their specific blocks because they were so full. And a couple of ladies who've written to us here had to watch the match on television inside of Wembley Stadium because they couldn't get to a point where they could see the game.
But the most disturbing story in the association's dossier concerns official stewards employed to control Wembley's huge crowds. It's a vital job. Yet astonishingly, FSA member Jeff Doran was among a group of Everton fans with no previous experience who found themselves in charge of thousands of supporters after being told in a pub that Wembley management recruited stewards on the morning of the match. Jeff and his friends were told to come to an entrance here at the right of the Twin Towers at 11:30 on the morning of the match. They turned up only half believing the story and never really expecting to get in as official stewards. To their amazement, it was easy.
Well, simply, all I had to do was write my name and sign my name on a list that this guy is carrying and talk me way in, and it was simple as that. It was the easiest way I've ever been in Wembley. Easier than having a ticket. Issued
with security passes and stewards' bibs, Jeff and his brother Paul were horrified, not just at the lack of security, but general organisation inside the ground. Two of the group walked round the Royal Box, occupied only a couple of hours later by the Duchess of Kent. And on television coverage of the match, they can be seen in their blue bibs just yards from the teams themselves.
We had complete freedom. The blue bibs we wore, they just give us absolutely power. We walked everywhere and anywhere, you know, there was no... We had passes. They were looked at once around about 12:30, but that was the end of it. Unless we walked anywhere. And I suppose if we had the mind to, we could have done anything we wanted to, really, if it had been some sort of terrorist. It was ridiculous. I couldn't understand it, you know.
Wembley deny that their security system is lax, but admit that this time something went badly wrong. They say stewards are recruited from various sources, including university students and local rugby clubs, who are supposed to send along experienced people. Wembley Stadium say they trust these various organisations to provide the right sort of people for the job. Jeff Doran says many of the other stewards were as inexperienced as he was.
Oh, definitely. There was young lads, 16, 17, even younger. There's one lad there, 15 years old, was with us with a bib on with us, and he was with his father. And they were asking us, you know, what we're supposed to do. No one knew. It just didn't make sense, you know.
No one from Wembley would be interviewed about the Football Supporters Association allegations, but their security managers confirmed that an investigation is underway. In the end, of course, no harm's been done because Jeff Doran and his friends are not terrorists or hooligans, but genuine fans. But 1 year on from the Heysel Stadium tragedy, the thought of what might have happened if the wrong sort of people had got in is a sobering one.
We could have done real damage, you know, the more I've thought about it the last few days. It terrifies me, to be honest.
Terrifies a lot of people too. The Football Supporters Association is compiling a dossier of fans' complaints about the cup final. If you want to write to them, this is the address. It's the Football Supporters Association, 59 Oakwood Road, Liverpool 26. That's the Football Supporters Association, 59 Oakwood Road, Liverpool 26.
Right, well, it's almost time to say goodbye to Frank Keating, who's been our early morning guest this morning, but you said, I think, Frank, you had a point to make.
Only watching the film once, back in the good old days in '68 when United won the European Cup. It happened to be Derby Day. I happened to go have a ticket for the Derby and then on to Wembley, had a top hat, Duke of Norfolk stuff, went to Wembley, ordinary seat. Once the game ended, because I had a topper and tails, they let me onto the pitch. I was nearly up with the cup with Charlton. It was incredible. Yes. So nobody says anything to a man in a top hat.
It's an interesting and humorous way to end it. Frank, thanks very much for being with us. I take it you'll be going to some sporting event today.
Crossing fingers about...
A contemptible human being for her part in the Westland affair.
I'd have much rather have done it on the floor of the House of Commons, which was the proper place to do it. And you see, Friday is traditionally a House of Commons day. And in the hour and 35 minutes in Committee Room 10, you will have heard that I did it entirely from the point of view of a House of Commons member and not from a party politician.
The Prime Minister apparently approved the plan to stop Mr DL from making his attack on her in the Commons. But several senior Tory backbenchers have already condemned such tactics as unworthy. They fear they'll backfire. And Mr DL and his colleagues are already claiming that people will believe that Mrs Thatcher really does have something to hide.
The Home Secretary Douglas Hurd said tonight there should be a little extra, £3 million for the football player Ian Rush, and that makes him the most expensive British footballer in history. But tonight Rush, who plays for Liverpool and Wales, is still thinking it over. He says he won't decide what to do until Monday.
The last time Liverpool's most prolific goal-getter met the Juventus players was an occasion he'd rather forget. 39 fans died in the rioting at last year's European Cup final, and it was on the first anniversary of the tragedy in Brussels that officials of the two clubs met and the transfer deal was struck. Rush says he's happy at Liverpool, but the opportunity to display his scoring talents in Europe is a tempting one. So too is the money. If he goes, he'll become the most expensive British player ever.
Hughes!
Mark Hughes set a new record last month when he joined Barcelona for £2.5 million. Rush says a move to Spain to join up with his Welsh striking partner would be an attractive one. But one man in a league all on his own is Diego Maradona. He's widely regarded as the most talented player in the world, and with a price tag to match. Italian club Napoli were happy to pay out nearly £7 million for him, and last night in Mexico he showed why. Tonight, Rush took time off from football to watch his racehorse run at Haydock Park, but the Juventus decision was still on his mind.
I've not made a decision yet.
What's making it so hard to make a decision?
Because I've got to talk to my family and my girlfriend, and if they don't disagree, I won't go.
Rush's horse, Coast Boy, came in second from last. Poor finishing, something of which his owner certainly can't be accused.
The £3 million deal that could take Ian Rush to Juventus. The international football transfer market has come a long way since the first British player went overseas 25 years ago. He was another Welshman, John Charles, and he too went to Juventus, but for rather less, £55,000. Now with news of the World Cup and other sport, Mark Austin.
England play in Mexico tonight, knowing that another defeat could put them out of the World Cup. England manager Bobby Robson has kept the same team that lost to Portugal for the match against Morocco. The weather won't be helping. Temperatures in the Monterrey Stadium could be around the 100-degree mark by the time England take the field. One of the favourite teams was in action tonight, Brazil, 3 times the champions. They were the first to get the ball in the net. But it was disallowed. In the second half, the part-timers from North Africa fought on bravely, but their inexperience let Pereira score an easy goal. So another win for Brazil. They stay top of their group and win themselves a place in the second round. On the second day of the first Cornhill Test at Lords, England lost their last 5 wickets for 49 runs. They were bowled out for 294. The Indian reply was interrupted both by rain and by a young woman with a cricketing protest. Under grey skies at Lords, England's hopes rested with Pringle, but he took an hour to add 12 runs before this happened. Out for 63. Wickets fell, and when Dilly flashed and edged, England were all out for 294. The Indians began full of confidence. Srikanth quickly into his stride. Then suddenly the sun emerged for the first time, and with it appeared a leggy blonde with a cheeky appeal to the Lord's hierarchy. With the police in hot pursuit, bring back Botham was the message on the banner. But as Gower and Ellison looked the maiden over, she was led away. Her protest having been made, the covers were back on. The whole episode clearly put Srikanth off his stroke. Edmonds offered a cooling hand. But when the batsman had made 20, Gatting picked up a catch to celebrate his birthday, and India were 31 for 1. After a break for rain, Amarnath and Gavaskar made steady progress. Gavaskar, the highest run maker in Test history, is looking for his first ever century at Lord's. At the close, the Indians had made 83 for 1, with Gavaskar 30 not out and Amarnath 27 not out. Essex lead the county championship tonight after beating Glamorgan. Leicester beat Surrey, Worcester beat Middlesex, and Michael Holding took 5 wickets as Derbyshire beat Yorkshire. Britain's Robert Lee set a new course record as he took the lead after the second round of the Dunhill British Masters at Woburn. At the 18th, Lee had another simple putt for a birdie. His round of 65 left him 10 under par for the tournament. One shot behind Lee is Sevi Ballesteros with Bernhard Langer 8 under par.
And finally, a pop video warning